On today's show, we have Grant Schiller breaking down everything that he saw from Rangers minor and major league camp in spring training, some eyewitness statements on the top Rangers prospects. All that and more on this episode of Locked On Rangers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked onto the Texas Rangers. I'm Bryce Patrick, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan since 2010, the founder and host for all 4 seasons of this Locked On Rangers podcast. Thank you all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If you're not already, you can follow me on Twitter at Bryce Patrick. You can follow my guest, Grant Schiller, at OG Shill. Follow the show at Locked On Rangers. Subscribe on YouTube, where the best way you can help grow the show is to comment any single thing below. Before we get into today's show, this episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn today to get started. I am joined by Grant Schiller, the OG prospector of baseball prospectus. Let's see how many times I can get the word prospect in the first sentence. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. Hey, allergies hitting me. A&M's underseeded, but everything's good. It's not like, can you imagine if your team missed the tournament? I can't.
I can't. My team's the number 1 overall seed, and
yeah.
don't look at this shirt that I'm wearing right now, my beloved. I don't care about Texas Tech. What are you talking about? This random shirt. Don't care at all. But it is March, which means it is time for spring training, and it almost is time for Texas Rangers Major League Baseball in games that actually count for something. But you saw some games that counted for nothing. But I'm sure you got some great insight being there in spring training. How long were you there? When were you there? What did you see? What did you hear? What did you feel in your soul?
I was there 3 nights, 4 days, very start of March. So earlier than I'd ever gone before. Technically before minor league camp even started, but quite a few of the guys were out there still working out or doing some live bullpens. It's just the best baseball time of the year. Unless the Rangers make the playoffs, there's no better time of the year than spring training baseball. You just get a level of access that you never get, and a level of proximity to the superstars out there now. So all these Major League Baseball players, just beautiful out there. It's so relaxed, and you're just so up close. It's amazing.
Oh, I am very jealous. I was kind of hoping to get out there this year, but the timing just didn't quite work out for me. But I'm getting my own sports March trip to March Madness, that Final Four weekend. I will be in Houston, and if my basketball team happens to be playing basketball there, then maybe I'll go see them. But I'm just happy to go to the city of Houston, which I've never talked trash about a million times on this podcast. Always had love for the city of Houston.
Hey, who doesn't love Houston?
Me. Actually, it is me. I talk trash.
Hey, look, there's a lot of positives. It's humid. It's dirty. It's bad. Their teams stink. Their teams cheat. And it's just an all-around terrible city. So I love it.
There's a lot of positives there. And, one thing that I have to say I'm less positive of is that I don't think I berated you on the pod, but I've talked trash on your behalf of the top 101 of your publication, Baseball Perspectives. There happens to be two Texas Rangers prospects on there. One of them, I think, a great job. Evan Carter, number 22. I would have put him number 0, -1 even, but 22 is pretty good, and I think that's the highest of any major publication out there. And then you got to go all the way down to the bottom to number 100 to get Josh Young, who is below his brother, who is younger than him, and not as good in my professional opinion. I think he's still gonna be very good for the Tigers as a second baseman. But what's the deal, man? What's the disrespect? Did you just get outvoted? Were you slamming your fist on the table like, what are you guys doing? I need more Rangers prospects on here.
Hey, I tell you what, I'm not super involved in that process because I don't know a bunch of the prospects around the league. Texas League was actually pretty low on prospects last year outside of the Rangers and Rough Riders. Um, I will say I think I did slam my fist on the table to get Young in there.
I'm sorry,
Um,
you had to slam your fist on the table to get him in there? He was like 30 last year.
hey, he got hurt again. When he came back, the approach was different. It was I'd have him higher on my personal top 100, but I also don't know about the other team's prospects, so I'm not
He
any
was
ranking expert. I will say
he was
if it
31 last year, and Jack Leiter was 20 last year and fell all the probably 150. I'm assuming where y'all put him, or just like
if
in the trash can.
if we had a top 150, I think you would have seen Leiter, White, and Acuna.
Okay. Acuna made. I was surprised that Acuna made so many different people's top 100 lists and
Yeah,
who he jumped. I'm like, I was impressed,
yeah,
and I know you liked him as well last year.
yeah. When you have a guy who you project as an everyday shortstop, you end up on those lists before too long.
Yeah, and I think he'll definitely. Well, I don't know if he'll make his way onto some mid-season top 50 list. We'll see what he does. I think he's been assigned to Double A already,
Yep.
and the other guy that we talked about, Evan Carter, who has not been assigned to a level just yet, and there was some talk about him maybe being on the opening day roster. I think that was a little
Uh.
bit far fetched. Just like getting him an extended look at big league camp. I feel like that's a really good sign for him, especially all the praise that Bruce Bochy had to say for him. Was that something that you anticipated him getting this many at bats in big league camp, or were you kind of surprised to see him get this big
I'm
of a look?
I'm not shocked just because he's so advanced in his approach and his discipline, his pitch recognition, all these soft skills that translate to being big league ready really well. Um, he has them all, so it doesn't surprise me that they want to give him a long big league look, and pretty much establish him to, if he performs, to be ready to be on the fast track to being a major leaguer, whether it's opening day next year or if he's killing in Double A, Triple A, and they are in the pennant race in August at the end of this year. Um, Now you don't want to go too far. Like the open day talk is ridiculous. You don't want to stun his development and put him at a level he can't handle. Um, but he is advanced enough at these soft skills that if he comes to Double A and he rakes, you probably do want to. He probably is the guy who could handle being.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely been fast tracked quite a bit through his career. The fact that he was 19 and, or I think he like just turned 20 before making it to Double A and really more than held his own there was really, really encouraging. We're going to get into more of your live looks there and less berating you about decisions that were not yours. But first, this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Midway point of the NBA season is here now is the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet does not win. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It is safe, secure, and super easy to use. Then you can bet on everything from the money line to point scorers and threes drained. Plus, FanDuel even lets you combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with a same-game parlay. So don't miss a chance to get your no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets back when you go to fanduel.com/lockedon. That's fanduel.com/lockedon to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Now, Grant, you were there for 4 days, 3 nights, and you saw some quality baseball. And I have so many questions, but I'll just kind of let you lead. What were some of the things that you saw, the players that you saw that you were most impressed by or
Uh-huh.
least impressed? Let's just start with the most impressive. We might want to start off with the happy moments.
Um, Cole Ragans, man. He there's been a lot of buzz. It's legitimate. Um, he looked like the kind of it looked like the guy who would be the talk of spring and would be winning the fifth starter's job if he was anywhere that hadn't just signed an entire starting rotation. Like 25 out of 30 teams come into spring training with the fifth starter job up for grab. He would win it on those 25. the Rangers happen to, have spent significant loads of money on some guys named Jacob deGrom, Nate Eovaldi, John Gray, and Andrew Heaney, and Martin Perez. I don't know if you know him.
I've heard of those guys. I think they're big
Okay,
leaguers,
so they
established
may
ones.
right they may not have an opening, unless you listen to New York Mets fans who think that deGrom will break just by stepping on a mound. But he was up to 94, 96. I know he's
Has he ever
he.
been there before? I don't think he has.
I don't think he's been quite that high. When he was younger, he was 93, 95. He was a little down coming off the, double TJ.
Which happens.
Right. Now, I will say the last couple of years he's been higher in spring and the beginning of the season than he's into the season. But I don't think he's ever been quite this high. I mean, sitting 4 to 6 with and touching higher. I didn't see him touch higher, but the reports are he's been touching 8, 9. So that, especially for a guy like him, that's a big impact on the profile, right? So
because the fastball has it has the spin rate. It just never had the
right,
velocity.
right, because he spins the ball well. But a year ago, when I saw he was 91, 93, he was more about fastball command and a plus changeup, which is great. But he didn't. He had fringy secondaries, um, and once he got to the big leagues, the fastball got eaten up. It was like a 388 batting average against 7 something slugging. I mean, they got eaten up. The thing with that is, if you're a fastball command, changeup first guy, you really need to have a third pitch to be a starter. He doesn't have that third pitch, right? He also didn't have explosive enough stuff to go and be a reliever. So where does that leave you? I had him as an up and down arm. But if you bump that fastball up to 4 to 6, that fastball command's going to play a lot better if you get swings and misses in the zone, which he was. But changeup's going to play better off of it. So that's going to be a better one-two punch. Right. Either as a starter or now you have explosive enough stuff to be a reliever if starting doesn't work out. So no matter which area he goes down, a velocity bump like this when he already spins the ball well is... A velocity jump does not have this big an impact on a lot of profiles as it does with Ragans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that was kind of the thing that I always felt like he could add a little bit more because he was, 6'4". He was kind of skinny, and obviously you have the 2 Tommy John surgeries, so that takes some time off. But hearing about the things that he worked on, it seemed like that was what encouraged me that this is legitimate and like sustainable. We're talking about working on like adding good weight and like flexibility, and that kind of like that was to me almost not more encouraging, but like almost as encouraging as him touching 99. It's just like, oh wow, Cole Ragans, what a guy.
So he was probably, not probably, he was the highlight for me. Other things that were good. So Jake Latz was good almost in a similar way.
Interesting.
So he was up to 94, 95. So he's another guy who spins the fastball well, but he'd been 90, 92 before. Which he's 90, 92. On his day, he had good fastball command, although the numbers in AAA doesn't show it last year. He walked way too many. With solid average, changeup, and slider. Going up to 94, 95 makes a big difference in that potentially playing up in a relief profile. Because he's at a point where he's probably not ever going to be a big league starter. But if you're mid-nines, you can spin the fastball well and you have a couple decent secondaries from the left side, that can start to look like a relief profile. So that's a big difference for him too.
Mm-hmm.
Bubba Thompson, another year, another apparent incremental increase in his ability to pick up spin.
Ooh.
It's never going to be a strength, but as year over year he continues to get just a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better. That helps mitigate that very significant weakness that really, if he fails, it's going to be because I can't speak. It's going to be because, very difficult to say, because he can't pick up spin, and pitchers are just going to throw off speed. He's going to be an easy out. That if he fails, that's why he's going to fail. So him continuing to progress and being able to see that he's getting a little bit better if he could just be passable at that, he's going to have a role. And he seemed to be getting a little bit better again this year.
That's encouraging, and obviously the speed is why the Rangers want him on the roster, because he does
Right.
have that literally 80 grade speed. And I mean, we saw the numbers of what he did in AAA with these kind of rule change. I think they might be a little bit more extreme with the bases, marginally more helpful to increasing stolen bases. And he was already really good at that last year with regular rules. And I'm encouraged
He's
to
so
see him
fast.
just go fly. I didn't realize, I knew he was toolsy when they drafted him, but I kind of thought he was more power than speed. And then the last couple of years, oh gosh, he is fast.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, yeah. He is so fast.
Fast and furious, one might say.
Let's I guess let's stay with the arms for one more here. TK Roby was sharp. Got to see him throw a live bullpen on the minor league side. Fastball, curveball were ahead of where they were last year at this time. Last year he was reworking his arm path a little bit, so he lost a little bit of juice on his fastball as he got used to it. That was sharper again. The curveball was sharper, and keep in mind that's always been the third pitch behind the fastball changeup. So that looking and playing more consistently at about a league average showing is very important.
Yep.
The changeup was still good. A good favor with a fader with a big velo gap. So he looked good. Let's see. Ricky Vanasco was more consistent in his delivery.
Well, that's
But
nice.
the thing with him is he's always shown that from time to time, and then the next start he comes out and he's a disaster with it. So it's just hard to take much from one viewing and to know, hey, is this something hey, he's learned his body, he's going to be more consistent with this, or is it just one of those, one of the good outings that he tends to have every now and again? So we'll see how that continues into the season. One of those things to make note of, but without seeing more to have a trend. Not much to take from it.
Yeah.
Let's see. If we move to the batters on the good side, Anthony Gutierrez was probably the highlight.
Okay. I know y'all were real high on him in your top 10. You had him 8th in there, which is, I think, way higher than anybody else. But apparently y'all heard good reports, and now it seems like you've seen the good reports.
Yeah. I mean, he was pretty much he was pretty much 8th sight unseen, just given how positive the reports we'd heard on him were from Rangers people. And it's very easy to see why they love this kid. He's a big kid. Tall, wide-shouldered, good, fluid athlete. It's a really quick bat. It's extremely evident that he's going to grow into plus power to all fields.
I like that.
He's a kid who's currently playing center field. Decent enough arm, good athlete, growing the power of all fields. I tell you what, the bat path really reminded me a lot of Alfonso Soriano.
Really? Interesting.
And obviously, that bat path allowed him to play into his power. Hopefully, he'll do the same with Gutierrez. But as I watched him and watched how his bat goes through the zone and he finishes, it was very reminiscent of old Fonzie.
Oh, man, that's a name I have not heard in a long, long time.
Former Ranger great right there.
Former Ranger great. Yeah, I kind of always forget that he was in the A-Rod trade and made it not an absolute disaster. It's still a disaster, but, not as big a disaster as he is on a TV broadcast these days.
You know the Red Sox trade story with that one, right?
They do not.
Ah, okay. Well, you're going to love this. So, the Rangers had agreed to trade with the Boston Red Sox for Alex Rodriguez about a week before the Yankees trade. A-Rod was going to take a pay cut to go there, which was, at the end of the day, what killed the trade because the Players Association didn't want him to do it. The Rangers, in return for Alex Rodriguez, so the Red Sox, were going to get Manny Ramirez and John Lester.
Would have been nice.
It would have, but you can't beat Joaquin Arias. You cannot beat Joaquin Arias.
I mean, there's also the alternate route where the Rangers got Robinson Cano instead of him. But, it's fine. It's fine. Joaquin Arias was great.
I tell you what, it blows my mind looking back on it. The Rangers had the best player in baseball at the time. They ate a big part of his contract, and they couldn't have gotten more. Like every team wasn't knocking down the door, giving everything in their organization for him.
It
Crazy.
blows my mind looking back at how good he was. I mean, because of the who he is and what he did is we kind of forget how good he is. Every once in a while, I like to go back and be like, "Dang, he was really freaking good."
He really was.
Ugh,
He really was.
what it would be to have a guy like him in this team. But I'm curious. I mean, before we switch to the bad, maybe these guys are included in our transition to the bad. Did you see any of Jack Leiter or Kumar Rocker while you were down there? 'Cause those are the guys who I think I'm most curious about, like what's happening with them.
So I saw them both throw bullpens from a bad angle and a ways away. Um, the one thing that really struck me is how much better Glider is near elite at getting into his legs and using them, and Rocker's on the farther end of the spectrum. How much better Glider uses his body, the positions he puts himself in his arm in are way better. Rocker
Was he
puts his arm in some bad positions, and he really
was
doesn't use
Leiter
his
still
arms.
missing glove side with everything?
No, it was tough to tell from the side angle I was at, but it didn't appear so.
No, the answer is definitive. Absolutely not. No, everything's
He's
fixed and
fixed.
perfect.
He's perfect. Uh, I don't know. I got a couple more bats I can go through on the good side.
Yes, let's
Then we
stick
can
with
get
those
into
pauses before we just ruin our
yeah.
day.
Okay. And I want to throw some very off the radar relief prospect names at you too.
Oh heck yes! Give me the the more off the radar the better.
Okay, perfect. So Gladder Figuereo, he was one of the young kids who kind of showed out last year's camp.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
now
I've heard some really good reports about him.
yeah, he's now 18, and that dude has put a lot of junk in his trunk. He
I
he
love the
put
way
on
you
a
phrase
lot of
that.
weight on the lower half. Most of it's good. Um, it does mean a year ago he was kind of a second baseman, third baseman. He's definitely grown into being just a third baseman.
Hmm.
And now the thing to watch is probably not is he second or third, but is he gonna have to be moved to first?
Hmm.
Uh, I really hope he doesn't have to be. Um, but he's going into some of his power projection. Balls that last year would have died in the outfield were clearing the fence by a good while now.
I'm about to say good by a
Um,
good a mile.
oh, yeah, a good
That's
mile.
whew, as opposed to a
80
bad
pop.
mile. That's some new level pop.
um, but he looked good. He really added a lot of good weight to the lower half.
Well,
Uh,
he seemed to put some like pretty decent power numbers for his age. Like I think I remember Evan Grant when he wrote him up. He said like he would have led the complex league in homers if he didn't get promoted a little bit early.
right.
And I was like, okay, as a 17-year-old that he was then, maybe he was 18 then, and he's still 18. I don't know. Still pretty young and showing off pop at that age of like
Yeah.
really any level is encouraging.
Yep.
But then you said he adds more junk in the trunk. It's like, all right, let's see if he can do that Joey Gallo thing of hit 40 home runs as a teen in full season ball. That happens all the time.
All the time. Just usual, yeah. A couple shortstops I saw field but not hit. Sebastian Walcott was out there.
Okay,
I really wanted to see him swing the bat, but they never gave me that chance.
that's rude of them.
I mean, he's tall and lanky and athletic.
He's the top signing from this year, right? From the Bahamas.
Yes.
Okay, that's
Yep.
what I thought.
Understandably, there's a lot to clean up in the defensive actions in both the hands and the footwork. That was very messy and something they're going to have to work on, which makes sense as he just signed like a month ago as a 16-year-old out of the Bahamas. But he did appear to have good natural hands. As bad as the mechanics of it were, he was picking almost everything. So once he cleans it up, hopefully that'll really play. The other guy, Cam Cauley, what was he, like a third, fourth round pick a couple years back?
Something like that. I can't remember exactly. I'll look it up while you're vamping.
I just continue to really like him. He's a really small kid, slight kid, um, shortstop, but he's really smooth hands. Uh, I heard good things about how he's been hitting the ball, even though I didn't see it. And I know
2021 third round pick, 73rd
perfect.
overall.
Okay. And I know from prior years that for as small as he can sting the ball a little bit to the pull side. And
You wouldn't tell
he's
that with
just
his
really smooth defensively
two
as
whole
well.
home runs in 287 at bats last year in Down
There you
East.
go.
It was
Yep.
not it was not a great offensive showing for him last year. When you
It was
slug
not.
under 300, that's kind of rough. But
Yeah. It was not. But good defensive shortstop. He can hit the ball a little bit harder than you think. So if he can start to get to that in games more, I think there's something there.
that's encouraging.
Um,
I'm not trying to judge the kid too hard. I mean, he was a teenager in full season ball, and that's freaking tough. And
yes.
he was still tried out there for 76 games, so he must have been holding his own well enough that they felt confident in him doing that. So
Yeah. It's I'm pretty intrigued there. Um, three arms that are potential relief prospects that are kind of off the radar I had not heard of before coming into this. First is Ivan Oviedo.
I've heard about that name, just like
Really? Okay.
randomly floated. I think I saw it like once of just like, oh, this guy like got some weird stuff.
Yeah. He's got he's got a mean high spin upper 70s curve. I mean that looks like it could be plus. The four seam was pedestrian. I mean it was 92, 93 with whatever shape. I don't think that's going to be the pitch he's going to go with. He's got a two seamer at 87 to 90 miles an hour. That was way better. A lot of run, significant, sharp, run and sink. So I mean, he's 20, so 87, 90. It's hard to live at that in the big leagues right now.
Yeah,
But if he's able to bulk up and add a few ticks to that, a plus secondary with a fastball that wiggles can be a big league reliever. um, let's see. Joseph Montalvo is another guy. I think he was a 20th round pick a couple years ago. He had his four seamer is 90 to 92, but it was extremely high spin, especially for being at that velo band. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the term, but the Bauer units, which essentially is the ratio of spin to velocity, averages about 24 in the big leagues, was pushing 27. So I mean, he's spinning significantly higher than the velocity would suggest. With another high spin pitch and his slider in the low 80s that had good shape. It wasn't super sharp at the moment, but again, as he's able to bulk up and hopefully add a few ticks, that should sharpen up. It's got good shape. If he's able to push into the mid 90s with a sharper slider, it's another potentially explosive relief package. The last one, probably the one I'm least high on, but was at least intrigued by, is Adrian Rodriguez.
okay.
Tall,
It's a
6'5"
good
kid.
first name, good last name.
That's right. If you want to be a Ranger, Adrian Rodriguez, you could do worse. Um, Tall, 6'5" kid, mid 90s heater already at 20 years old, high spin, um, but good grief, he had no idea where it was going. So there's a long way to go there. But when you're 6'5" and you throw a high spin mid 90s fastball at 20, at least worth knowing the name.
That's fair. That's absolutely fair. Well, this is very encouraging, and I think it's about time for our random Ranger. I went through like three different guys that I think I might have picked already in the past, so I'm with one that I don't think. Oh gosh, yeah, I'm pretty sure that I have not picked this guy because this is, man, this is out there. Do you want to start? Or would you like me to?
Go ahead. Go for it.
All right, this guy is not in the big leagues anymore. Last pitched for the Marlins in 2019. Pitched with Texas in the most random of years, 2014.
Oh, okay.
3 games, 1 game finished, 5 1/3 innings, an 11.81 ERA, a FIP of 276 though. So
Did he throw underhand?
I don't think so. This is an actual pitcher.
It's not Ben Rowan?
I almost picked Ben Rowan, but it's not.
Okay.
This guy is a 6'4" righty out of Esperanza in the Dominican Republic. Pitched for the Yankees, Mariners, before the Rangers, and then the White Sox and Marlins after. Do you know who this guy is?
Hector Neris?
Hector Noesi.
Noesi. Hector Noesi. Yes, yes, yes. Yes. My apologies to the whole Noesi family.
Mm-hmm. And to the Neris family. I kind of remembered him as being Hector Neris, but I think. Yeah, former Ranger great. Hector Noesi.
Okay.
That 2014 is just a treasure trove, but I feel like I've used so many of them.
Oh, they don't run out. It's incredible.
There's so many. There's so many. All right, who you got for me?
I'm going with the recent one.
Okay.
He was here just last year.
Oh my God.
He was a waiver claim. He actually came off of a pretty good 2021 season. He had 19 plate appearances with the Rangers. He's an outfielder, and he struck out in 12 of them.
Oh.
I'd imagine that's all you need.
I'm not looking at the Baseball Reference page. I want to get it on my own, but I don't think I'm going to. Is it Zach Rex?
No, Zach Rex.
Oh, it's Steven Duggar.
Yep, it's Steven Duggar.
Yep. Ugh, that's a good one. I was like, how can you? I was like, oh, he's gonna pull somebody out of the left field. I wasn't excited about the Robbie Grossman, the Robbie Grossman signing, but I think keeping me and my sanity of just I remember recording with you after the season of like, can you name all 15 or 16 players that played left field for the Rangers? And I was like, yes, and then I did it, and then immediately felt extreme sorrow at my joy. Hopefully. Fewer than 14, I think it was last year. I will settle for single digits. Maybe that's optimistic.
Hey,
but,
if we can get 9 or less, we're rolling.
Man, I am feeling optimistic about that. And, Jacob deGrom has thrown on a hill in a Rangers uniform. Maybe eventually it'll be in a game that we see. Maybe that'll be even before opening day. But, we're just about 2 weeks away, and I am so freaking excited for a Texas Rangers baseball season, which is not something that I have said in a long time, and actually meant it because I thought they were going to be good as opposed to just there was going to be baseball. But whether they're good or whether they're bad, Grant, you and I are always here. I appreciate all of your insights. Everyone go find Grant's work at baseballprospectus.com, not .gov or .net or .edu. You can follow him on Twitter at OGShill. Any things you want to plug?
Actually, I did type up my notes from the backfield with a couple more names we weren't able to get to on the not so positive side on BP. So if you have a subscription, or I think they might have a free trial, there is an article out there from me on this same subject if you want to read more.
So if you want to get sad, go to baseballprospectus.com.
If you want to get sad specifically about Brock Porter.
Oof. I do not want to get sad about Brock Porter, so I'm not going to read it. I pretend like I do not see it. But I will not pretend like I didn't see this podcast and some great random Rangers choices by the both of us. Grant, it's a pleasure. As always, thank you all so much for listening and subscribe, making Locked On Rangers your first listen every day. For your next listen, go check out Locked On Fantasy Baseball. Win your league by listening to Matt and Dom every day as they bring you the best fantasy draft strategies. Find Locked On Fantasy Baseball wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Thank you all so much for listening and subscribing, and until next time, don't forget to enjoy baseball.